Meeting is now called to order. May I ask if there's any notice of recording from anyone and the public? On the agenda here this afternoon, Housing Coordinator report. Is that the person we're waiting on, or should we hold off on that portion of it?
So we can go ahead and jump to that. So first item I wanted to report with regret is the resignation of Chairman David Carey. He's moving on to do some work in the affordable housing space, and we wish him luck and thank him for his service.
Yes.
That does leave us with the matter of electing a new chair.
Chair, yes.
So I will let the committee entertain that discussions and nominations.
I make a motion that Hilda Hay be elected chairman.
At the risk of our work relationship, I second that. You better come do my blood draws.
Do I have any say in this?
Yes. You always have the right to refuse.
Yes.
All in favor, yes.
We could consider this a temporary chair assignment until we have more members of the committee, if you wish, and I can put this on a future agenda to revisit election of
Sounds more
officers
like it,
if
because
that's
I'm in
helpful.
shock.
Okay. But for now, do you accept the nomination?
Yeah, I'll do my best. We've always worked well together.
You do
So,
fine.
We will support you.
okay.
So it's temporary chair.
And vice chair?
I suppose I'll suffer with
I
Hilda.
make a motion for the lady that raised her hand. Thank you, Paul.
Oh, this is all on
Be
public,
vice
isn't it?
president.
Do I have to make a motion formally?
Make a motion.
I guess I make a motion to nominate myself as
I
vice
beg to
chair.
second it.
Accept the nomination, yeah.
I will accept the nomination.
All in favor?
Aye.
Lori? Oh, you can't vote.
Oh,
So you three.
So it just was 3.
okay.
Aye.
That's 3, that's
That's
good.
3.
Unless you want to be temporary.
I mean, vice chair is fine, although I might find myself in Hilda's position at some point.
Let's elect you so that next time we only have to do the temporary chairman to be the real chairman.
Thank you all for that. The other part of the Housing Coordinator's report is I just wanted to give you an update on the inclusionary zoning feasibility analysis. We've hired a consultant to take a look at our inclusionary zoning ordinance, assess what works, what could be improved, and we hope to have a report by year end. Currently, they are reaching out to a list of names that we've provided to conduct some one-on-one interviews. If any of you would like to be a part of that one-on-one interview process, please just let me know, and I can certainly add your name to that list, but I hope to have a more complete update at a future meeting for you.
Is this open to the public? Are these people that are doing the one-on-one, are they members of the public? Are they just from the housing?
It's members of the public that have a special interest or knowledge in housing. So
Okay.
a representative from Housing Assistance Corporation,
Okay.
a representative from POC Cape Cod, a couple of developers who have local experience going through the inclusionary and LIP process, a county expert on homelessness. So we've tried to create a range of
Okay.
people with specific knowledge and interest.
Any current renters or homeless persons?
Not on the one-on-one interview list.
I feel like that should be a thing.
Okay. Reaching that population can be difficult, but particularly homeless. But
The renters would be
well, so I
easier.
think that population is actually will have a stronger voice in the housing production plan update. The inclusionary zoning ordinance gets pretty technical
More
in terms
technical
of real
in
estate and
terms-
market
okay.
appraisals and things like that. So I think we've tried to, I mean, we have the Cape and Islands Association of Realtors represented. We've tried to include people that understand the market forces behind housing if we're going to change an ordinance like that.
Okay, that sounds reasonable. As long as they get to participate at some
Yeah.
point in time, I think their voice is important to be heard also.
Yeah. And what we expect from this is the deliverable will be recommendations on changes to the ordinance that this committee or others, the planning board, could recommend to town council, right? So no formal zoning change will come as a direct result of this consultant's work. They are just making recommendations on how we can strengthen the bylaw.
Okay.
So there will be a lot more public comment to come. Sorry.
Inclusionary zoning, at income levels.
Our inclusionary zoning is at,
diverse, you know,
yeah, our ordinance specifies 65% area median income, which is odd. The state threshold for inclusion on subsidized housing inventories is
55% of what?
65% of the HUD annual area median income.
But what's that
numbers.
amount? 80,000?
Depends on the family.
Yeah, it's adjusted.
Okay, yeah, it changes all the time.
It changes every year.
So
Hit a moving target.
just for, it's not, okay, so this isn't in Barnstable, but this is from HAC. So I'm looking at the Megansett Crossing. Are you aware of that? Okay, so it's affordable housing. It's in Falmouth, but I was curious, they're 80% AMI for a 2-bedroom unit, rents at $1,851 a month. And then at 100% AMI, it's $2,340 for a 2-bedroom unit. That, to me, is higher than some market rates.
So
I mean, if the 2-bedroom, it's like 18 to 2,200 I see, but how, are we really doing 2,340 for a 2-bedroom affordable unit?
So the HUD incomes that were distributed in April saw a 30% jump in the area median income for Barnstable County, which is, I don't really know how to explain that because it doesn't exactly factor in pandemic-related relocations, right? So I think the numbers are significantly higher than they were just from the previous year.
That is troublesome,
Mhm.
because I think now a lot of that is the people who had come in from out of state and had brought these houses up and were working from home.
So I'm assuming since this is HUD, that would be the same at 80 and 100% for Barnstable.
Yeah.
So we're looking at $2,300 for an affordable.
A house.
Megansett Crossing is not 100% affordable.
It's at, they're going at 80 and 100.
But as I said, I think there's only 3 out of those 10 that are affordable.
Right, there's only 2 units, but regardless of the units that are available, that's what I'm saying, like, that just got worse.
Yeah, so the 2020 income and rents, we have that posted on the Housing and Community Development webpage, the town's website, and you can see what they are as we've calculated them for 50, 65, and 80% AMI, and they are significantly higher.
Well, this points up significantly what the difficulties are, because the old rules, the banks wouldn't give you a mortgage if your mortgage was going, and taxes were going to be, and insurance was going to be more than 30% of your income.
There are plenty of people that are
You
overburdened
take
now.
18 or 23, 2,000, you gotta make 6,000 a month. Not to get a regular apartment, to get affordable. I mean,
And they
I
don't
don't
look
know how
at that, they
people
look
do
at
it.
gross, so you're not even, that's not even your take-home pay.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a valid future agenda item if you'd like to get into some detail about it.
I
My
would.
thinking is that rental subsidy programs are gonna become more important.
And to
Um,
higher income people.
The gap is just getting wider. We think we're getting closer, but the distance just keep moving away from us.
Yeah.
Because now, as you were saying, Donald, the people who could possibly get a $300,000 to borrow from the bank you're not gonna be able to do that.
Also,
'Cause you
300,000
won't-
isn't gonna get you anything.
Not gonna get you anything, and that doesn't include everything else that goes with it, your taxes, your insurance.
Some people wanna eat food sometime during the month. It's I don't know how we solve it. That's a lot
It's a
of money.
crisis.
Is
It
the-
is a crisis.
Is this AMI, is this statewide or do they break it to the Cape? Because the housing costs are much higher here.
It's by county, so
It's by
Barnstable County is
So
how
it
it's
is
broken out.
Barnstable.
I would love to address that, cause that is frightening.
Mhm.
For anybody on affordable housing and anybody not.
As another point to that whole conversation, HUD just released their new fair market rents, and those went up significantly. So now a one-bedroom, I believe, is 1,500 and maybe 1,538, and a two-bedroom is over 2,000.
I mean, that's what we've been seeing here, but now they just
They're catching up.
made it official.
Mhm. And the unit sizes are going down as the
Price goes up.
rentals are going up. We're seeing more micro units, so 400 square foot, one bedrooms.
Well, somebody who came in here, building their studios are going for over 1,750.
So if you make less than, say, $70,000 or $80,000, you've got to
I
get a
made
tenth
6
under the Bourne
figures,
Bridge.
and I still can't afford to live here. I mean, I worked my butt off for it, but. Well, that wasn't on the agenda, and I apologize, but
No, it's a good
But it
topic
points
for
up-
future
points
further
up why
discussion.
we're here and why
It's-
it
yeah.
takes so long to fix this. And
Mhm.
it just-
To talk into the microphone, that would be really helpful.
well, whatever is that on? They'll let me know if it isn't. Whatever we can do as a committee to like push this hard, whatever actions that takes, whether it's supporting renters or supporting development or, you know, changing zoning or changing maybe tax incentives, I think we should have a strong push for it, because it's like, we need action.
Well, I think it gets to this point now where I think the community need to come together.
Yeah.
The town needs to do something, and not 10 years down the road, but like yesterday emergency. Because if this keeps going on, what's gonna happen to the young people? What is gonna happen to our elder folks who are not working? The cost of living has evaded us, and not much to pay, even though some of the business around here during summer may put their prices up, or their starting rate up to 18 or 20. After the summer, they go back down to $15 or $16.
And a small business still can't sustain.
And the small business people can't sustain what's going on.
Well, something has to be done.
Yay!
But like the doctor's Hippocratic oath, you know, you don't want to do something in a rush that's going to hurt more than help. So we need to examine everything by pros and cons. There's no silver bullet. There's no
No.
magic potion, you know. But if we can do one final question. So if a two-bedroom ordinary apartment is in the affordable range, 18 to 2,300. What's a non-affordable? What would that
The
sell
regular
for
rate,
on that?
2,500 for a two-bedroom at least. You're
26.
not 25,
Captain's
26.
Row is 2,600 for a two-bedroom.
Wow.
So the affordable program is helpful. It just
Right now,
3 jobs.
To an increasingly limited extent, it is helpful, and that's
Yeah.
because of how high everything is going.
but the gap between the regular price and the affordable is narrowing.
It's going to be more, affordable's going to be more of a problem once the sewer thing gets going, because that's going to be, 20, 30,000 per house. And then the operating costs, probably 100, 175 a month. And that's got to be paid for by someone. I don't know. We got a hard row to hoe, as they say.
Well, the
But
good-
we got to keep at it. We gotta just keep at it.
Well,
Do something.
I think the good news is that the housing needs assessment, which the consultant team is in the process of wrapping up and will present at the community forum on the 21st, I think we'll touch on this issue, and hopefully the housing production plan will provide some strategies and some good examples for what other communities are doing. You know, the issue with this challenge is that it's recent and all communities are facing it. I mean, we're all trying to solve yet another new challenge in the housing world. But I think we'll get some good feedback as a result of that plan to make policy recommendations on.
So would this be cluster zoning, so that you would have, you know, multiple units here, but not just sprinkled among single-family homes, have a big apartment and a home, then an apartment and a home?
Like
I'm
tiny
hoping
homes?
that we can still keep the Cape, you know, somehow, without making it into New York City.
Well, I think we'd have to increase like the amount multifamily dwellings, you know, like 2 to
Yes.
4 units in more areas.
Yeah,
And the height of the buildings. What is the height for Barnstable? What was it, 3-story, the most we can go? I'll probably have to start thinking about doing probably 4 or 5 just to be able to, as you say, not having New York, but still be able to have people living here.
Yeah, there are opportunities for increased density, so zoning amendments will be part of the solution.
well, the sewer will take away one of the main legal challenges to more people on a given lot.
Zoning.
Because now that you need so much for a septic tank, you have to have it inspected. That'll take that away from the zoning, but that'll help. I hope.
Is there any such thing as like a housing emergency? Like statewide?
So
Is that a thing?
the county home program is currently building out a plan for use of the ARPA funds, which have specific use criteria for homeless prevention and housing stabilization. So I think we'll see with that program, the X number of millions that are allocated there will deal with emergency housing issues on the Cape.
If you're under the affordable housing program, can you accept Section 8 housing vouchers? Or are those two separate programs?
It depends on the funding that's used when the dwelling was originally built,
Okay.
because you can't double dip per se.
But if somebody couldn't qualify for a mortgage on their present $25,000 a year job, but they could get a Section 8 housing, the bank could take that income into account and say, okay, we'll give you the mortgage. Maybe.
Housing voucher's not income, though. It's not counted as income.
Yeah.
There are some. We do not have that program, but there are housing authorities in the state that have rent to own, and people can use, I don't know a whole lot about it, but they can use their vouchers, and their portion goes to a mortgage.
Why don't we offer that?
Don't know. It's
Because I've been renting and I'm making on-time payments for like 10 years.
not a program, it's not a program that we have.
Is that a
Is that a
possibility?
possibility to explore?
I can find the time to explore that, yes. We have had some inquiries.
Would that be a county or town-supported initiative?
I don't see why not. It doesn't necessarily have to come from the housing authority. It could be a, it could be a.
Rental, I mean, didn't the town do mortgage buy-downs?
Mhm.
Am I using that term right? I think I am.
Yeah, there was a
Yeah,
buy-down program
Yep.
many years ago.
Yeah, like bridge loans between what someone could afford and what the cost of the purchase really was. It worked very well. Worked really well.
The cha-
Really just be spreading that buy-down program out for a longer span of time.
That would be a good, actually, that would be a really good use of those ARPA monies from the county.
I don't know what we can do to do that, but I'd really like to explore that and actually take some action.
Perhaps you and I can put our heads together on that,
Sure,
Lori, and,
sure.
and come back with some suggested ideas for how to move that forward.
If that were to happen, and if those funds came from the town, I guess it's a question for later, but like about income and would it have to be affordable and would there be any deed restrictions on it and all that jazz? So that would be for later.
So when the town had the buy-down program before, the house remained affordable in perpetuity.
But if it's through the town, are there income restrictions like there are for HAC?
Yes.
Would they have to be the same income restrictions as HAC, or could they be a bit more expansive, trying to catch that middle?
So if you're using public funds to subsidize a unit, there are fair housing laws that apply, right? So there has to be annual monitoring to ensure that that person is income eligible. That's, I think, a federal requirement for use of public subsidy. This is sort of generally speaking. If you are using public funds to subsidize a unit at 80% or less of the area median income per DHCD's guidelines, then you absolutely have to deed restrict, do the annual monitoring. It's a little bit more challenging. But that 81% to 100% AMI, you can do that locally. You do have to do annual monitoring and some fair marketing, but not having to go through the DHCD process of getting the unit on the SHI, you can create that sort of missing middle community housing stock.
That would be kind of an ideal use for that. I don't know.
Yeah, and towns are a little bit more efficient at creating those units with a modest amount of public subsidy than more generous amount of subsidy and having to go through the DHCD regulatory review process, in my recent experience.
I concur.
I'm sure he does too.
So,
So I think we have probably had a mix-up in time, and our consultant was anticipating a 5 o'clock meeting start. I can attempt to walk through the housing production plan project update item on the agenda using the presentation that they've provided.
Sure.
I think the intent, if I could have the mouse, I think the intent of the consultant team here really was to give you, this committee, an update of where they are in the process and also set the stage for what the community forum will look like on the 21st. Which if you're all planning to attend that forum, just let me know. If there'll be a quorum of you present, I'll need to actually post it as a
September 21st.
September 21st at 6 p.m. At the Adult Community Center.
I think the next
But
day,
28th.
September 21st.
No, where, the location?
825 Falmouth
Falmouth Road.
Yeah.
I would not be able to attend because I will be working. And then LCPC is the next night.
Yeah, I'll poll you separately and just make sure that if there's a quorum there, it's not a problem. I can just post it.
Okay.
But we have been doing some advertising of the event through the town's social media channels. I did a town talk this morning highlighting the event and what the goal of the production plan is. So let's see if I can wing this. Oops. So it looks like, just again, an update on the project schedule. We kicked off in July. We're hoping to have the plan submitted to DHCD for their approval by the end of March. Between now and then, we'll continue, the consultant will continue doing public outreach through one-on-one interviews that are currently ongoing. The community forum on September 21st. There will be a second community forum on November 16th, so another opportunity for in-person participation as well. before the plan becomes more formalized, to begin reviewing it with both the Housing Committee and the Planning Board sometime in January, February. So a couple of items that have been completed or in active stages of progress since the last Housing Production Plan in 2018 is the Downtown Hyannis zoning, or the form-based code. That was the recommendation of the 2018 plan, to look at rezoning in the downtown to create sort of top-of-shop redevelopment apartment opportunities. That zoning is on hold for the moment, but it's a great work product, and it's sort of ready for town council, provided there aren't conflicts of interest to move on it. So we'll keep you updated. The CDBG program has been sort of restructured in the town, and there's a dedicated administrator there, and the use of those funds have been, I think, more effectively spent and engaged with the public since the last plan. Accessory dwelling units, that ordinance was adopted as of right housing option about a year ago by the town council. We are exploring tax abatement options for the accessory affordable apartment program. I've been working with the assessor on that, and hope to have something in the near term, which was strengthening that accessory affordable apartment program was one of the strategies in the prior HPP. And then disposing of municipal properties for affordable housing. There's a lot of internal discussion going on about that now, and we're trying to bring forward some recommendations through the town manager and town council on how to do that through procurement laws and RFP processes. So the housing needs assessment, the consultant has been working on this, looking through the best available 2020 census data, American Community Survey data, identifying shifts in our demographics and economic and housing trends, and identifying greatest needs. Looks like our subsidized housing inventory, we've seen some improvement on the SHI, not enough to get to that 10% goal, but. So it looks like smaller units, I'm not sure if they're more desirable or if that's just what the market is bearing at the moment. We certainly seem to be seeing that. Year-round rentals are challenging for our seasonal workforce, and extremely and very low income affordable units are very scarce, I think is the message there. So this is a graphic that I would say will be presented at the forum on the 21st, and I will just let the consultant speak to that at that time. But 85% of our housing stock is single family. It was 80% in 2018, so we are becoming more single family dominant than less, which is already a challenge. 7 out of 10 Barnstable residents live alone or with only one other person.
Really?
That's interesting.
That's a lot of houses not being used.
Yeah.
But how do we get those to turn over?
That's second and third home owners.
Well, I think there's a lot of, there aren't a lot of opportunities to downsize, and there aren't a lot of great programs that meet people's interests in downsizing, right? I mean, 55 plus communities are out there, but do they have the amenities that people want? Is that really the lifestyle that meets everyone's needs later in life? I think we'll explore a lot of house share. The Golden Girls concept keeps coming back up in some of these focus groups. Older generations that house share, and I think we'll see more of that. There are models across the country that are starting to work. Two and 5 are older than 60. workforce is becoming younger.
This is all coming from the census data, right?
So either census or this ACS is the American Community Survey. So the full 2020 census is not yet, I think, accessible.
The census data won't reflect seasonal home movers, right? That would have only been collecting people that are living here
Correct.
year round.
And it won't reflect whatever the pandemic shift was, that we all, suspicion happened, and it feels very tangible, but the data is not there on that yet. So multifamily zoning is limited and primarily in Hyannis. No surprise there,
That accounts for Hyannis growing more than the rest of it.
perhaps.
Well, how much of, do we know, like for the towns, the different towns, like say the town of Barnstable, how many land do the town own right now that is not being used for
We should have all of that.
housing?
So-
How would we get that information?
So town-owned properties?
Town-owned properties.
Yes, so the town does have a list of town-owned, underutilized properties. The town has a whole division, an asset management division, and they're actively looking at repurposing of the most suitable properties for affordable housing. I think there's more opportunity there than there is capacity to move it along. But yes, I think
I'd love to get a list of that. I'm
I
sure
can
it's
see
available
in what
online,
form
but,
it's available.
okay.
Housing Trust has a pretty good update of what has potential for housing use of asset.
Is that public, that's a public document that they've
I think
released?
so.
Okay.
I think so.
I think David Anthony might have that info.
Yeah, that was the name in my head.
And Andy Fiber's pretty up to, I think, on it too.
In like 2 minutes.
See, and just to see what can be done with whatever pieces of property that are there.
I'd love
How
to see an
can we
overlay
move?
map of that.
Get that moving.
Mhm. Again, I think these are just going to need to be explained by the consultant during the forum. But this is a flavor of what is going to be presented by them, and they'll do a better job than I am at the moment.
Oh, that's fine. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if current cost of living trends continue, a decline in population is certainly possible. Interesting. Well, we're not alone on the Cape in our housing and
Which data is unsurprising.
Seasonal housing, a major factor of all housing stock are actively short-term.
See, the overall housing stock or second homes is super problematic.
yeah, this is a good question. I'm not sure where this is coming from. I don't know if it's Department of Revenue listings, but I think we should ground truth, this.
30%.
Rentals, 96%.
Well,
That can't be right.
No, so 5%, if this is accurate, 5% overall housing stock are active short-term rentals, then it makes sense that 96% of that 5 would be,
Five.
right.
Rent out the whole,
As opposed to
meaning
one
living
room,
part of
yeah.
it, renting out part of it, like
Yeah.
renting a room.
But it's also, it's kind of some great data, again, pending accuracy, that 30% of our housing stock are second homes. When we continue to talk about short-term rentals like they're the biggest problem.
One of the problems is that if you, I'd like to, I have a couple of cottages that like to rent, but the grandkids are going to, just for the summer, but I couldn't rent it out the rest of the year. Everybody wants a long, laws have to change, because if somebody gets in there, I used to do landlord and tenant. There's no getting them out for the summer. You'd be lucky to get them out by October, November, if they didn't appeal it.
That's why I don't understand why year-round rentals aren't more appealing.
But it's too bad there couldn't be some sort of provision for school year rentals. September to June. I think some of my friends would do it. But it's too hard, way above our pay grade, and the Commonwealth wouldn't change the landlord and tenant laws in 50 years.
Well, a lot of tenants are still afraid to report problems because of it.
There's a lot of these homes that are not used year-round.
Yeah.
And it's too bad that they couldn't be used, I don't know, emergency shelters or something. I mean, you know.
Well, I think a part of that problem also is that even sometimes when people are willing to do that, they don't trust people. People don't do a good job taking care of other people's property. And that is number one. You have a nice place and you decide to help somebody and they help you down in the long run, just as you were saying.
I mean, it's a problem. I let a family live there for 4 months. No rent, no nothing. So it wasn't a rental.
Yeah, no, but
I
I'm
didn't have
saying
to
even
worry.
with people who would consider
And they
renting,
were
they're
good
so
people.
scared of getting their place, being just in an awful condition afterwards. So
But I think
people
the
are
ADU
kind of,
thing may be a great thing. Well, this is Bourne, not Barnstable.
The ADU thing,
But the ADU thing may be the way to go.
but we also need the support for it because I'm still waiting on a site assessment. We asked back in April. It's September. We still haven't gotten a site assessment, so we also need the support.
Right, so the engineering community is completely backed up, right? It can take you 6 months to get a site plan. The cost of construction for an ADU is challenging, right? The figures are threefold what we thought they would be when we were talking about this as a solution regionally 3 years ago. And if you haven't ever built a home, if you're building a detached ADU, the process is the same.
That's
as
the same
building
as building a
home,
new
right? It's a
home,
complex
yes.
building permit process that
Yes.
most people are very unfamiliar with. So, I think we're starting to think about opportunities for ADUs in existing structures, expansion of an existing structure, above a garage sort of situation. It's not the solution that's gonna work for everyone that's interested in having an apartment on their property.
I have to head to the school council meeting.
Okay, I think you're good. You'll see this in a recorded form or at the forum. If
And
you're-
online, right? All right.
Thank you, Megan.
Thank you.
And so we do still have a quorum
Congratulations, Chair.
present because you constitute a voting quorum.
Okay.
Okay, so let's see. Again, so I think what I'd like to do is just skip through these. I think these, this is just the data collection that they will present at the forum. 28% in the past 10 years, the cost of rents have increased. Yeah, this is that gap that we were just talking about. I think rental subsidy is a program that communities are gonna have to start looking at, either through their trusts or their CPC.
now with the prices of home rising that much, or even for rental, does that that figure change in what people get in helping to pay rent?
Yeah, when we were just talking about the fair market rates or the FMRs, when those increase, that gives someone that has a subsidy a little bit more money on their coupon, if you will, to go shopping and find a place to live. So it's a little bit more in line with what the market rates are. It's not always, lately, it's not the money that's the issue. It's more so finding
Finding a
the
place,
unit,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, another example is when you're first issued a subsidy, you're given 120 days to find a place. And that's supposed to be your maximum, but we're extending that 120 days to 180 and out even more than that.
Yeah, that would be a good idea, because starting at 120 days is like, no way. Not in
No,
this
that's-
kind of market, it's not gonna happen. It's just like a waste
We
if
have,
we say that.
luckily or thankfully, we have that ability
Then.
to extend it, but that is part of the HUD regulations. It says right in their Code of Federal Regulations, 120 days.
So that's a federal law.
Well, regulation. not-
Regulation.
Yeah, yeah, but again, we can, it's up to us. We can use our discretion and extend it, which we do.
So 39% of households are considered low or moderate income. It's pretty significant.
Wow. Barnstable, higher rate.
Here's where we're more challenged than our peers.
Well, it's even more than Bourne.
Now, why is that so, though? Do we have a bigger population in the town of Barnstable?
And if I may, there's poverty pockets, more so in Hyannis. I mean, the Cape is not very walkable, if you would, but the transportation center's here, the hospital's here. There's supermarkets. You can, in theory, walk it. So if people don't have a vehicle, I
Yeah.
would move, if, you move to the center.
Of
And
everything.
that's why, yeah, everything is right here.
All right, so a constraints analysis. CWMP wastewater information. Our trust is an asset. Okay, so I think there'll be some talking points on this that they'll provide, just feedback on the focus groups, the interviews, some of the more common themes that they heard in each of those. Yep. So a survey will be launched soon. I don't have the date on that, but I will kick it off through this committee once I have it from the consultant. And as well as at the forum on the 21st, there will be a Zoom webinar feature where if you're watching the forum from home, logged in on Zoom, when the consultant team does a polling exercise, you'll be able to participate in that poll from your
phone.
smartphone. So there'll be instructions provided. So we hope to get as much participation as we can on that. All right, and I think that's where we're headed on the 21st. Any comments or questions or any feedback that you have at a later date, you can feel free to email me about it. And
Okay. So now I think we have gone through most of the things back and forth. And here, format of the upcoming public forum would be on September 21st at 6 p.m. at the Adult Community Center. Is there any public comment, or did I miss anything?
I guess one comment on the consultant, are they like looking at actual local numbers? Sorry,
Jake Dewey. Are they looking at any actual, are they collecting any data here, or they're just using census data?
Census and American Community Survey, which are the best available.
Don't
when
we
you
have
say
town data that's more accurate to our community? At least just our wage rolls from our town employees. Can't some of our larger employers provide data to them? The hospital's got to be able to provide what their median income is for a hospital worker, or some sort of metrics there that could be incorporated in this, that's going to then look at, because the fault here that we keep going back to is that rent number is being calculated based on an average or a median income number. So we're saying $80,000, whatever it is our area median income, and we're calculating down. That's where we're getting at that $2,300 a month, which isn't market rent. That's literally just looking at the income, what someone can afford. So how do we get our actual, when we talk about workforce housing, how do we get our actual workforce wages, our true Barnstable workforce wages? We need to get those numbers somehow, and we should be able to at least pull our town employee numbers. The town is one of the largest employers in the town. So how do we at least look at those numbers to say, hey, the average paycheck for a town employee is X, the real affordable, what they can really afford is whatever it is, $1,400 a month or $1,600 a month. So how do we get, I don't know if the consultant can look at that, or if, our town employee wages are public record. So could you request that from finance, that's something that comes forward to say, here's our average town employee wage? Because we want our police we could probably look at police officers, we could look at firefighters, we could look at, town administrative staff and DPW staff and say, hey, no one in any of these departments can actually afford to live in this community. This is and maybe we need to make another category of definition that is local workforce or town workforce or Barnstable workforce housing. And I think the threshold would fall under DHCD's guidelines. It might be 25% of AMI. And that's where the Affordable Housing Trust money should be going towards, and our affordable housing money, because I think it's going to fall below the restrictions, so the money could be used for it. But that should be the highest priority, because we're not going to be able to, I know Chief Sonobin and Chief Burke are having a hard time recruiting anyone to work in those departments. So if they had housing, maybe it would help, if there was an avenue for people to get housing.
Even at the hospital as well, because with Cape Cod probably being the second largest employer on the Cape, that would be a good data. And I know for people starting at $13, $14 an hour, how on earth can any of those employees afford
Exactly.
a 2-bedroom for $1,800 per month plus utilities, your insurance, and if you have children, and buy food? And so I keep saying we're faced with such a dilemma. In another couple of years, it's going to be beyond what we're really seeing now, the real effect. Because I know of a fact that a lot of single mother or single dads, they work long hours, 60, 70 hours per week to make ends meet. They don't see those children. So in another couple of years from now, those same children, what are they going to be facing? They didn't have a lot of parental guidance because, mom and dad has to also just to keep the roof over your head. And we literally raise ourselves, or they raise themselves. And what kind of society are we looking forward to in the future?
Well, this is the problem. Our children, our grandchildren are moving off Cape because they have to. The money isn't here, they can't buy a house. It's really sad. And I wonder how many, we talk about these affordable housings like these are for, really poor people. They really aren't. You have to get a mortgage, you have to have a job, you have to, be credit worthy. And I just wonder how many of the town employees would qualify under the affordable house because the salaries are so low.
That is
It's not
really
an
a
advertisement
very
for a pay
good
raise,
point,
but
Jake.
it shows the problem if the town employees can't buy a house.
We have enough fast food places around here, restaurants. They could pull a couple of those places too. Supermarkets around here.
Yep.
And that would be even more specific to this population.
Because I think we all agree that the HUD numbers aren't getting our local, our needs.
No.
Right.
Well, and there was a regional, the Cape Cod Commission a couple of years ago did some data collection efforts, I think, to get at that and to understand that disconnect. I think I can talk to the consultant team. It may be worth, exploring their capacity to do that under a contract amendment to provide some more recent.
From our local data,
Yeah.
from local businesses around here.
And the other thing I wanted to suggest, and I don't want to open the short-term rental can of worms again, and I don't know if this would take how far it would have to go to change it, if it's just an inspectional services or where it would go, but why not increase the fee for a short-term rental? Right now we do the inspections, and the fee is $90 for a year-round rental, and it's $90 for a short-term rental. It seems like there's an easy opportunity to add a fee for a short-term rental, make it, say, $500 a year, and that money could go into the Affordable Housing Trust or less designated, less restricted funds as our CPA funds in the Affordable Housing Trust bucket. I just don't think it would be a heavy lift to change, to make that modification. Yeah. I'd love to see this committee make some recommendations to council. Whether they go anywhere or not, it would just be great if this committee every once in a while was pumping something out just to toss that way and see what happens or doesn't happen.
Rather than a set annual fee, like the dump transfer station, why not make it a percentage of the rentals?
Well, we have the tax right now.
But if somebody rents it 2 weeks.
I think the key is that we fall under state guidelines of taxing versus fees, I think, go separately.
Well, the fee is a percentage rather than a dollar.
Yeah.
There ought to be a way to do it, because somebody that takes the short-term rentals like basically all year and takes it off of the housing base that people can live in here, and they're using it as just an investment. They don't live there. No Barnstable families live there. People from out of state come for 1 or 2 weeks or 1 or 2 days. I still don't understand why it isn't under the hotel rules, because it's just like a hotel. You have short stays, you have people you don't know, you have strangers living with your kids in the background, and the only thing that's missing is a hotel sign. I guess the sign ordinance
went back and
stops
forth
that.
for 2 years there or whatever.
The sign ordinance stops that.
But that's also an important part of our local economy. Our seasonal
Yes,
economy is to have these
yes.
short-term rentals. That brings a lot of
That
money
puts
into our community.
into the community and into our
So
economy.
it's a balance.
But
And
whether it's a percentage or an annual fee or something, yes,
Yeah.
I think the fee should be much more. If the town has to come and inspect, you send 1 or 2 people out there, even for a short inspection, that's going to cost more than $90.
Well, that's what they're doing
the
right
town.
now. It costs $90 and the town does their inspection. And that's why it probably should be $590. So the $90 is still going into the inspectional services,
And the additional
account,
go
and the
towards-
additional 500 goes to some sort of housing fund. Because the taxes, the short-term rental taxes, unfortunately, our community really needs that for our wastewater situation. So we can't direct those funds to our housing problem, even though our housing problem is also tied to our wastewater. But it's
So it couldn't be used just for housing.
not, well, I think we
It goes into
could
the
make that
giant
choice. The town could make that
offer.
choice. But right now, we've chosen to put it all into wastewater.
The wastewater.
Yeah.
Every
That's a
step
thought.
forward, there's a step backward.
But wastewater is also part of the housing solution. So you can say that, that money is sort of going towards housing production.
Well, but I think we're trying to develop a housing solution for Cape people
Yeah.
and not for New York, New Jersey people. And they're wonderful. I lived in New York 5 years, but
But we need to find revenue sources for that are not as restrictive as the CPA funds, I think.
We
is
need to
part of
have
it.
our town employees and our teachers able to
Yeah.
live here.
Yeah, which I think that could potentially roll into something that I think is not super popular, but that the town may have to consider owning property that is housing. Because look at every employer on the Cape right now. They're all buying houses for employees.
Yeah.
So small businesses are buying up, a duplex or whatever to put staff in. The town, again, large employer, may have to think about having employee housing. I look behind the school over off Burses Way and the Youth Community Center. There's a lot of land back. There's a couple ball fields, but there's a decent amount of land back there that, could provide
Probably
some.
used for the teachers.
It could be, teachers, firefighters, police officers, town
Firefighters.
staff, DPW workers.
Or the same school staff.
Yep.
That's something I think the opportunity, there are a lot of opportunities here that needs to, move forward, but everything is so slow. I can't stand it. Another 40 years and we're still talking about the same thing. Let's just do something.
Well, that's it's scary. We're doing this production plan, but we did one back in
5 years ago,
2016,
yeah.
and what did we actually
Get
do?
out of it. Yeah. What
Like we
you-
did the plan, and yeah, we have the ADU, but what is the success rate of the ADU program? Like, do we have any metrics on that? And I think this committee probably needs to be the one here that throws that back at the council. Let's revisit this already. Like, it's been a year. Let's just revisit, look at, is it working? Do we need to modify it? Like, that was the discussion when that was approved. We can tweak it. We're a two meeting a month council. Like, we can quickly modify this. Is it working, or do we need to look at revising it already?
I don't think it's the ordinance that is the problem. It's the market conditions on the ground that make the ordinance not as effective as we originally hoped, right? And every community is seeing that with an ADU. Construction costs.
So high.
So much has changed so
Yes.
rapidly in the past 2 years that the challenges feel even greater and the progress feels even slower. But since the 2018 production plan, there were some significant wins there, I think. I mean, the ADU ordinance, again, didn't deliver, but it was by right a successful approved policy. The form-based code, that has political issues that have
yeah.
slowed it down. So, there are just real-life things that interfere with quickening the pace of these policies.
But what about revisiting the affordable program to update that, the affordable accessory dwelling unit program? Look at that, and again, maybe it's self-serving, but I live and breathe it all the time. If we open the affordable accessory program up for non-owner occupied, I checked it. It's definitely, you have to be owner occupied in one of the units. If you open that up for non-owner occupied, I think you might get people that have the means, have the experience of build some affordable accessory units in current rentals. They have a current single-family rental home, and there's a garage or a more space there to build a small ADU, deed restricted in perpetuity, affordable, put some restrictions on, whatever restrictions we want on it. But I think that's where you're going to get some new starts relatively quickly. Because I know a lot of the guys out there that own properties out there, and that's, they can see in their mind there is space for another unit, and they can make that work financially. Whereas the homeowner, to think about converting their garage, as Ryan said, is like not easy. And it's a lot of money up front before you know if it's actually going to work. You get an engineer involved and you've thrown them a bunch of money and they're like, yeah, no, it's not going to work. And oh, you've got to get rid of one of your bedrooms, so you're doing an interior renovation too, because you have to lose a bedroom to make the septic work. So it's a lot of parts and pieces there.
And for the developers that can see, I can see another unit there, what's the level of subsidy that they need to make that work? Because do we have that metric right? I mean, I
Yeah.
think that's something that needs to be revisited.
And I think it's identifying what we want those to be. If we say those need to be our 25% AMI units, like we want, that is our highest need, and hopefully this report will show us that we need those units that are rented, the 2 bedrooms that are rented at $1,200 a month. That is our biggest need, so we need to throw, $150,000, $200,000 at that and get those units in our community, ASAP.
Yeah, especially on the town lands or something that they can go move forward with.
Yeah.
That you don't have to go out to look around for land. If there's lands available that can be used, that would be a perfect opportunity because it would cut back number one, on the cost. You know, even for the unit itself or for whatever we're putting in, it will cost significantly less for the people that doesn't make much.
Could you really, if it was a two-car garage, could you make a two-bedroom apartment in there for 150 or 200,000?
You're gonna have to put some of your own money in. I don't think we're asking the town to build these for you.
I'm just saying that you could just get a mortgage. You don't need any upfront money. You get 100,000 is only about 500 a month. 200,000 is only 1,000 a month. Even under the affordable, we could go to 1,600. So if somebody had the right garage and wanted to do it, assume you've got neighbors closer than you used to have, but they wouldn't have to put any money out. And they could, as soon as it was done, it might take 6 months. So you might have to pay the mortgage for 3 or 4 months while it's building. You get a construction mortgage and then you flip it. But I wonder how many people understand that they don't need 150,000, in their wallet to do the
Yeah.
ADU.
And I think some of the programs that the Affordable Housing Trust is trying to roll out would be potentially loan programs, interest-free loan programs. They're not necessarily giving the money out, but they're loaning the money out to start that, to make it an attractive option. But it's getting people to sort of buy into it. And a lot of people don't want to rent on their property, too. And again, that's why I go back to it. I think we'll get a lot more starts on these if we allow developers or investor-owned properties to put them on the parcel, because there's already a renter living on one side, and for someone that's an investor, they see an opportunity to add a little more to that property, and they'll hopefully cohabitate together well.
Well, I think with the investors, isn't that why the prices go shoot up so easily? That's one area where the money, comes into play. Where if they come in and do it on your property, instead of it costing you probably out of your pocket 150, so now it's gonna cost you 250. Because they have to make some money too, and you have to realize that, and that's only natural. No one of us is going into business to lose. So there is still a little gap that needs to be filled, and we need to figure out what that gap is and how we're gonna fill it.
And working with nonprofit developers is one way to do it more, I think, efficiently. But yeah, it's a good point.
Okay.
The only other thing I wanted to just ask, do our neighboring communities have housing committees? Has there ever been like a discussion of doing like a joint housing committee like summit? Because this is obviously, the report's showing it too, is a regional problem. It's not a Barnstable problem, it is a nationwide problem really, but to sort of look at it regionally and have sort of a meeting together with Yarmouth, with Mashpee and Falmouth.
That would be a good idea. That's something that we should put on our agenda coming up.
Yeah, all the towns have a housing committee or a local housing partnership. More and more towns are hiring a housing coordinator because they just need assistance in trying to administer programs. And there is now talk of having a regional shared housing services office to support towns. With the administering of these housing programs and policies. So yeah, having a forum to
kind of see if we can put our ideas together, see what we can take away.
Because someone can live in Yarmouth and work in Barnstable, and someone live in Barnstable and work in Yarmouth. We're
vice versa.
All very fluid through our towns, and I think our area median income is pretty similar throughout. We definitely have the economic hub here in Barnstable of employment, but it's pretty much the same.
Okay, so we've come to this. Our next meeting date is October 5th. Are we going back to our regular time? For
what
the
time?
October 5th, what time is our next meeting?
So maybe we should discuss that. I think that as the housing committee has been hosting these housing production plan updates by the consultant 4 or 5 p.m. is what works for our off-Cape consultant to come down for an in-person meeting.
Well, it's good for
8:30
me.
Doesn't, so I think if we could keep the 4 or 5 p.m. meeting time throughout the production process, that would be
That'd be fine.
good. Is that good?
Yes,
So 5, you want to say 5 p.m.?
5 p.m.
Okay. Items not reasonably anticipated. It was brought to my attention today that Town Council is forming a subcommittee to review a project proposed on the harbor called the Dockside. It's a large housing development project. They have requested that a member of the Housing Committee participate in that subcommittee. I think they're hoping to announce the next meeting date this week, so I would say think about that. If you feel you have the time or the interest to participate on that, just send me an email and I will point you in the right direction.
Okay, yeah.
I could do it, but I don't know about the date.
Okay, thank you.
What
I'll
date
let
is-
you know. I don't know the date yet. I will find out.
Okay.
um,
Or you
Probably,
could do it.
no, only one person or 2 people can go.
One person.
One
The
person.
chairperson
No, you
should be there.
can go if you want. Or we can work it out. We see which one, if it's not good for you and I can go, then that's fine.
Okay, I'll see what their schedule is looking like and let you both know.
Are they planning on, I know it's been a couple of years back and forth. Where are they at with that project?
The Dockside project?
Yeah.
I believe it's 36 units,
I was gonna say 35,
34,
but yeah.
36, I think.
34 to 36 units, 5 stories.
Is that the one with, down the old captain's homes, and it's overlooking the harbor, and there's gonna be a couple of $1 million
Yeah, I think it's two
affordable units?
No.
structures. Two structures, looking for an alternative compliance path for the inclusionary affordables. So an off-site.
Right,
we're
they
gonna
want
provide
them,
off-site.
they want them off-site.
As I remember, wasn't it, instead of having the 10% in those buildings, they wanted to have, we'll take that, take a credit for another off-site.
Yeah, that's what they were
I don't
asking,
know
as
whether you
far as
do
I
that
can
or not,
remember.
but
Yeah, they're still interested in that option.
What's the cost of those units? What are their starting price?
Isn't it close to $1 million?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
a million. They're intended to be high-end luxury condominiums.
Yeah.
There we go again.
Yeah, but if you could get one of those units for $1,500 a month.
The working poor is left behind.
Real estate property transfers.
Well, it does make some sense not to use the 10% there. I hate to be, anti-affordable housing, but
I don't agree
If-
with it.
you've got a penthouse apartments in New York City. It just doesn't seem right to have, because everybody, when you give one at below market, everybody else is paying more.
It doesn't matter because it shouldn't affect any of that. We shouldn't look at it from that point of view or from that angle because in every other housing, we don't look at it that way. So why is this special?
Right, if you're given special dispensation, or relief, whether it's density or, you get to skip to the head of the line, there's a cost for that. And in this case, I think it's density relief, height relief, because no other building
As-
except for the
hospital.
hospital is 5 stories high.
6.
And you know darn good and well that if units are built off-site, there is no way that they are going to equal the same type of units that are in that
No.
complex, which is what, if you have affordable units, you are supposed to, there's not supposed to be
Right,
any
they're not supposed to be
differences at all.
differentiated, so.
Right,
So this is exactly what the subcommittee's gonna
Right, sorry, that's a-
tussle with and make a
But whether it's a
recommendation.
golf club
to
or a
town
swimming
council.
club,
It should be, and we shouldn't look on, oh, because you're poor, you should, why?
Okay,
We
so
don't do it for
I will let
anybody
you
else.
both know.
Yeah,
I don't want to get anyone, I don't want anyone to get in trouble.
No.
I will let you both know what those dates are.
do we know the legal answer? If
million.
you have to have the affordable on a particular development? Or if you can do this off-site?
The way the inclusionary is
I
written
don't
right
know.
now, it has to be on-site.
Yeah.
But what's what's our timeline on the consultant reporting back on their?
The deliverable is year end, but it's recommendations only, it's not a,
Policies,
it's
yeah.
not a amended bylaw.
So is this, we're trying to follow the friendly 40B process? Is that what this is? Or this is just
It's a regulatory
council
agreement.
leadership saying this is a good idea, let's send it through planning and
It's
housing?
a regulatory agreement, and a subcommittee of committee members wrestling through those details and conditions.
Love to go.
I will let you know when the date is.
I'm all fired up already. Because I'm sure wherever they're building those other houses, they're not gonna even worth 300,000, right? So if you're gonna say, I wanna go off-site to give you something because I wanna give you less affordable, what quality are you giving me? And what's the cost comparing to your million?
Right, where's it gonna be comparable?
Yes.
That's the main thing, because you
Comparability, I
can't
think.
discriminate in a
Right.
given,
Because that's where the discrimination come in with poor class of people. Again,
Well, so don't say any more. I want you to bias your ability
Yeah.
to participate in this subcommittee. And I will get you some dates.
all right,
That's all I had under that.
I think. So at this point,
I would
We're
make a
gonna-
motion to adjourn
Are we
if-
gonna
unless there's
adjourn
anything
this?
else that,
beg this meeting to be adjourned.
all right. We may be prisoners here. We no longer have a quorum, make them left.
I
Lori
could vote.
constitutes a voting quorum when an alternate isn't.
All right, then.
For a
All in
nominal
favor of
fee.
adjournment?
Okay,
I am too, I'm halfway out the door. Thank you.
Aye.
then you second it.
Yep.
Thank you all for
Oh, yeah,
coming
a
out.
second and an aye.